All right, hey everyone. Oh, you know what? I'm going to mute everybody 1 second. Okay, so I muted everybody. My name is Dee Corchin. It's Tuesday, January 12th, and I am filling in for Susan Palace for our weekly Health Coach Huddle. So I'm glad you guys are here, took time out of your busy nights to be here. And I've muted everybody, but I always like a discussion. So if at any point I'm talking about something, we do have a topic, very specific topic to cover tonight. But if I'm talking about something and then you've got a question around that, you have another idea around that, I am a-okay with you unmuting yourself and just stepping in and offering what you have to offer, because I think that together we have a lot of synergy and we all can share and benefit from our knowledge. So what we're going to talk about tonight is a topic that we covered at our most recent meeting in Atlanta, which was this past Saturday, the meeting on January 9th. That was the big national event where Dr. A spoke, which was fantastic. And but we did some health coach training around afterwards. And one of the topics that we covered was about organization. And just a couple of weeks ago, it came up on one of the health coaches on the call asked about some tips on organization. And I think it's one that we as health coaches can sometimes struggle with. Because here at Take Shape for Life, we're so fortunate that there's so much information and so much training available to us, but at times we don't really know how to navigate that or how to organize it in a system that we feel like we are best equipped to be out to service our clients. And that is the number one thing, is that our role is as a health coach to primarily acquire and support clients, and then also in the arena of health coaches. So what we talked about on Saturday was first just really keeping in perspective what is our role as a health coach, and our role is purely as a guide, and it's a guide so that we can guide our clients through our proven health system, right? We're so fortunate that we have everything provided to us. We don't have to recreate or really create anything. We can certainly customize a little bit, stylize, personalize things, but there's no real reason to create or add to what's already available to us. And there's a real important reason why we want to follow the simplicity of the system, and that's 100% to be duplicatable, because we know we're never going to achieve our mission to get America healthy by ourselves. We need lots and lots and lots of health coaches to help us. So just like we stepped into this arena not knowing anything, we want other people to be able to do the same thing and be able to be successful. And most importantly, that success is relative to how many clients and coaches that we're helping. So the one thing we talked about, so we want to guide our clients through the system, and the other thing we want to do is empower our clients, right? So we're not the be all end all for knowledge to our clients. There's going to be lots of questions that come up on a variety of topics, and we are not expected to be the experts. I mean, that's why we have the wonderful tools and resources that we do. And as a health coach, just important for you to know what these resources are, and then use our support system and connection with a client to connect them with the system. And when I talk about the system, the couple of things that I'm talking about are I'll tell you about the process that we follow when we sign up a new client, but we want to immerse them and expose them to things like the support calls that we have, the nurses call, the doctor's call, the Habits of Health call. We have a private Facebook group for our clients. We have the health games. We have local meetings like the one that we just held here in Atlanta. I know that Sandy has held them up in Michigan. Julie's going to hold one out in Charlotte. So we want to build that community and invite and encourage our clients to participate in it. We've got our nutrition support area. And so we've got all of this available to us. And it's really our goal. We know that we're the only program out there that offers the education. One of the other support tools is, of course, Dr. A's Habits of Health system, the book and the workbook. But we're the only company and program that offers that, right? So we know we've got this weight loss program that's the bomb, but the reality is our goal is that optimal health, that long-term success. And so that's only going to come through the education and the support system, and that support system includes us, the health coach. And what I shared a little bit about Saturday was the fact that we live in a world where people are dieters. You know, they are not used to what we have to offer. All right, so you're likely going to encounter some resistance with your clients to embrace these other things that we offer, and that's okay. I mean, that's normal because it's not what they're used to. And so as our goal as coaches is just to share it with them and share it with in a way how it can help them. So if your client's having trouble with a particular area and you see that that's the topic on the nurses call that week, that's a great opportunity to link them to that. Or suggest that they get, if they're not having time to get into the books or the workbooks, suggest that they get into the health games. So that's kind of the big picture. When we talk about specific organization, I don't want you to get lost or think that there has to be a perfect system that you have to develop in a special office and filing cabinets and all of that. That is not required. And I'm going to kind of walk you through what you need. What we need to do is get some organization, just really about our paperwork. How do we organize who we want to talk to and share about the program and the business opportunity? How do we organize those that we're talking to that are maybe not ready yet? How do we organize those that have said yes to the program? And how do we keep track of them as they're on every stage of the game? So that's really kind of the paper logistical piece of it. And then beyond that, the areas that we need to organize, I think are one, our mindset. Our mindset about how we approach our business is going to affect how successful and proficient we feel at what we're doing. And then we also need to manage our schedule. And our schedule is very, very important. It is important to have a schedule. So we'll talk about all three of those areas. So what I wanted to go to and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to link over and share my screen. And I want to go over to the unified training system because everything that we need there, the tools, the paperwork are right there. So if you're not familiar with it, I just kind of want to show you where it is, show you how you can print it, and then a system that you can put it in. So give me a moment while I share my screen. Okay, so can somebody, I lost you guys. Can somebody just unmute and tell me if you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't know what happens. I can't see you guys, so it's weird for me. Okay, so what we're gonna look under, we're in our Office of Motion. So we've got these tabs across here. We're just simply gonna go to the training tab. And you just drop down to supporting clients and click on that. And then, of course, all the supporting videos, all of that is in here. But if you go ahead, the training, the tutorials, but if you go through here, there's actually documents and tools and resources right here handy for us. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and go down into client and health coach support system. And if you click on this, this truly is kind of a walkthrough of everything that we need. So it just tells us how to use this system. So there's, actually click on here, there's instructions on how to do it. These are all the forms, and your business coach can help you and walk you through how do we utilize all of these different forms. But we've got the well-being evaluation, your contact list. Okay, so this is your list that you make. So you're going to print that, and then have a system to keep that in front of you so that you're constantly updating that list, identifying who you're speaking to, where you are on that. The well-being tracker. This is our client profile form, the health tracker, and all you have to do is just click on it. And it's going to bring you to the form, and then you can just print it and download it from there. So very, very simple. I print these forms, three-hole punch a bunch of them at once, and I'll show you where I put them. So going back into that. So all the forms that you need are here. All right. And then it starts to tell us about the different sections. And the sections, all right, here's instructions on how to set up a file folder system. And in a minute, I'll show you my file folder. But I mean, they're really, really obvious here. It's just, it walks you through how to set it up. And I'm telling you, setting up, some people are electronic people and there's guidelines for that. I'm more of a paper person because I like to keep mine portable, and I'll show you that, but it's purely your choice. We try to give you flexibility in there, and also file folders that you can do. So the forms are all here. Scroll on down, and these are the file folders for, you can either glue it to a file folder system and have the file folders on your desk, or I have mine in a 3-ring binder, which I'll show you. So this is basically your candidates, and here you have your connections list. And also, these are all the people that you've spoken to, you've made contact with, maybe they're not ready yet, and this is going to be where you keep their information to be able to circle back with them and have follow up with them. Once they become a client, we're going to have a separate folder for them. And on here, it actually kind of gives you a step-by-step on, place their order, send them the welcome letter. There's a copy of a welcome letter in this that you can send. You ask for the before photo. So here, it's just step-by-step. So very simple, very duplicatable. Again, going into the other folders, then you have your active clients. And beyond that, you get into tracking if you're going to be having health coaches. So I'm going to close that and go back to you guys, if I can. Here we are. Nope. Bear with me. Okay, well, I see you, but I'll just leave. Stop the share. Okay, so I keep a binder, and I think a lot of you guys do too. I don't know if you can see it, but I just keep a binder. It's very, very portable, and I keep everything in here. All of my clients are in here. In the folder over here, I keep blank client profile forms, so that in the event anybody I speak to, I fill out a client profile form on them, and they get moved into this first file system if they're not ready yet. Because I personally, I need a visual and a reminder of who I need to follow up with. And in my mind, if somebody says no, it's just not yet. So I'm going to keep them until they flat out say, don't call me again. They're going to stay in my system. And then from there, I have all my dividers in here, and I just have, clients that have said yes and who are in that first 2 weeks, and then to the active clients. And around that, I do suggest that you keep some sort of system for yourself to keep track of contacting your clients. We know that when they're going to order their food, we're going to want to talk to them before they start the program, and we're going to want to talk to them the first couple of days on the program. So develop a system for yourself. Some people use calendars like Google Calendar. Some use their phone. I am so old school, I'm telling you. I have a paper calendar. It's just what I do. And I'll tell you, I like having a visual paper calendar because somebody told me you only know if your business is growing by how much you have written on your calendar. So I want to make sure I have stuff related to my business every single day, appointments, follow-ups, and that sort of thing. I also put on that follow-up paper, like I spoke to a couple of clients on Monday. I usually give 48 hours, and then I call and follow up with them. So they're on I handwrite it on my calendar for Wednesday to follow up with them. So just develop some sort of system around that, because one of the key things in our business is follow up. It's just follow up, because sometimes just people aren't ready yet, and they forget, they get busy, whatever the case may be. So, work with your business coach around that. But the key is having a system to be able to follow up with people and keep track of where they are. I mean, what I ever don't want is somebody to start the program without me, right? Have you ever had that happen? And you're just like, it's never good. You want to be holding their hand, because in those first couple of days, I think the biggest thing we're doing, we're getting them through to fat burn, we're getting them to the happy place, but we're also building trust, and we're building rapport, and we're building that relationship. We're showing them that we're there for them. And that's going to be an important piece of this, is our role as a health coach is to let people know, why we're there for them, that we're on their side, and that because we want to have that relationship. So what I highly encourage is that your communication is by phone. All right. And we live in a world where everybody wants to text, they want to email, keep it simple. But I'm telling you, it's that human voice connection. And if you can be disciplined enough to start to learn how to do your calls very short, very efficiently, when you talk verbally, it's communication. You can hear the emotion. You know if somebody's struggling. You can hear what's going on. Trying to pass via text or email, it just becomes very systematic, very processed, very transactional, and it's just not, it just doesn't have that human touch. And we know it's that human touch that makes the difference. And so, like, I could have sent you a document with these organization procedures, but it's different when we're all sitting in this, this environment face to face and talking about it. It's just a different experience. And that's what we want to create for our clients. So, so that's kind of the high level regarding that. Somebody just asked me a question, like, is it okay to do all of your follow-ups on one day? It absolutely is. I mean, whatever system is going to work for you. The only thing I think to keep in mind is that a lot of times it's important, I think it's important to follow up with people, 24, 48 hours, at least do a call like, hey, I sent you that info. I just want to make sure you got my email, something that you kind of put it in there. But one thing I do is, with the exception of those calls the day before or evening before they start the program, or those calls that are days 1, 2, 3, the first days, I do organize all my weekly check-in calls, my celebration calls. I do set a schedule for that. And I will call them on day 7, because that is officially 1 week. So if they started on a Tuesday, even though I don't typically do client celebration calls on Tuesdays, I will call them on that Tuesday. And then I say, you know what, I just want you to, we celebrate, it's been 1 full week on the program. And then I say, okay, here's the deal. I do my client calls on Mondays and Wednesdays. Which day will work better for you? And then you could divide it to 1 day. You can do, if you work full time or whatever, and you just have a couple of hours, you can do it. I do my calls on Monday evenings. And so you kind of direct that. And I'm telling you, your clients will fit into what you want. All right. So just work on that, doing that, because I think one of the most overwhelming things that I found, especially when I started to have a very large client base, was when I didn't have a schedule regarding those calls. I just always had it going on in my head. I was so afraid I was going to miss a call. I was so afraid, couldn't remember who was on what day and where they were. And, and I'd go to bed at night, and if I forgot a call, I'd feel terrible. So I think just having a structure around that will give you peace of mind, and then it's going to free up the other hours of your day for whatever else you've got going on, because that's the great thing about this business, is we center it around what's important to us. So, again, whether you work full time and you do this 5 hours a week, or whether you do this 20 hours a week, having a plan and a schedule around that is important. So while I do my primary calls, my weekly calls, Mondays and Wednesdays, my other days are doing, calls. I'll meet people where they are that want to learn about the program. I'm doing coffees, I'm doing one-to-ones, I'm doing presentations, that sort of thing on the other days of the week. So set a schedule around that, and I think that it'll free you up quite a bit. So any questions on that kind of logistical piece of it, beyond what I've said, and before I move on to the next topic? Good. Let's see. The other thing is, you might have common questions that come up, things that you, common forms that you use, common documents that you use. I keep a file. Sometimes you can email nutrition support for information, and sometimes I do that because I want to have a written record of what they've said. It's just easier for me to organize. So think about maybe creating folders or something like that, email folders or document folders, so that you have that information available to you. You can pull it up, like, oh, I had that question before, let me go find it. So that is that. The other kind of things I want to talk about was a little bit about organizing your mindset around your business, and then how do you organize your time around your business, because a lot of us are extremely busy, or we just can't figure out kind of what to do with our business. So I think the first thing is, decide what you want from your business, what your goals are, and work with your business coach around that. So we all come to this with something a little bit different. Some of us come to it with a goal of just helping a few people. Maybe we're looking to be a senior coach or make a couple $100s a month. That's going to require, maybe 5 hours a week of our time. Somebody who's looking to grow a bigger business, or has a bigger business, that's going to be more time during the week. But the cool thing about this business is that the work is flexible, but the work is not optional. So the most important thing I think is to remember is that you've got to treat it like a business. And what's interesting is when we have a job, right, like a job, and we have to be somewhere, we're expected to be there. So even when things are very busy in our life, when it's something going on at the kids' school, or there's it's the holidays, you have company coming to town, whatever the case may be, when you have a job, you have to go, right? So if you're working a part-time job to earn that $500 a week, you have to show up. The tough thing about this business is that because nobody is really holding us accountable other than ourselves as far as showing up. So it's very easy to disengage from our business, to slip away. And just like when we see our clients, we see them go on and off the program, right? They disengage, they don't answer your calls, whatever the case may be. We know when our clients slip away that their success on the program is really reflects that generally. And I would say that usually happens in our business as well. When we ebb and flow with that attention that we give to our business and we don't have that consistency, we lose momentum. And so it's really, things I'll hear from coaches on my team is like, oh, okay, well, now that the holidays are over, I can focus on my business again. But yet they're not happy that they had that rapid decline during the holiday season. So it's just that consistency. So look at what you've got, what you're like. So with that in mind, think about your goals. And so if it needs to be that you work 5 hours a week on your business, or whether it's 10 hours a week, the best advice that I have been given and put into place is to split that time up so that you have dedicated time several days per week. All right. So rather than thinking, well, I'm going to work on my business on Saturday from 12 to 5, it's more effective to be making some calls, having a coffee with somebody, that sort of thing, touching your business most days of the week. All right, so maybe doing it an hour or two, maybe Tuesdays and Thursday evenings if you work. One night's for calls, the other is for like the Zoom call like this, or maybe something else that you need to be working on, meeting with the new client. But I think that you'll find that your business, you'll kind of have your game on all the time if you've got this kind of routine and this flow going during the week. So within that, think about your time. And if you have 5 hours to work on your business, really about 4 of them should be doing the activities that move the dial forward. And what moves the dial forward with your business is talking to people, right? Making phone calls, scheduling coffees, reaching out and connecting with people, and connecting with your clients and moving them through the system. So it's that human connection. That's what's going to drive your business forward. And then maybe an hour of your time, or however many hours you're dedicating in the week, a very small percentage, so kind of 4 hours to 1 or 5 to 1, is on things like this: the Zoom call, the leadership call, webinars. There's a wealth of information out there, but if we're not careful, we could spend all 5 hours just researching, organizing, that sort of thing, and never really actually connecting with people. And we know that that's what's going to make a difference, and how we're going to really start to help people, and which it ultimately ends up reflected in our business as far as growing our business. And I listened to something not too long ago. It was with Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy is a business coach, and I tune in. I get something from him every day. And one of the things that he said was that very often, fear is something that I think we all experience on some level, relative to our business. And he actually said in one of his things that fear can be disguised as a need to get organized. Right? So we feel like we can't move forward and we can't talk to people till we get organized. But the real reality is that there's something blocking us why we don't want to talk to, start, doing what we need to do to move the business forward. So be careful that that's not happening with you, that, that you've got this vision, like, well, I can't do anything until I organize my desk, or I can't do anything until I've watched that webinar. Really work with your business coach, because we can help you work through that and help equip you so that you're ready to move forward on that. So any questions related to that, or anything else I can help with this evening?
Dee,
Yes.
I think that you said a lot of exciting information. Would it be a possibility, because there's a lot of things, I'm writing down stuff like crazy, because yeah, And I think the last thing you said was one of the most important things. I think that, that's probably me to a T, is I'm always like, oh, I need to do this first before I can really get forward on things. But do you think maybe the next week, and you can talk with Susan about this and what she has planned, but with a follow-up call on if anybody was able to go and because, when you go in, you're like, oh, well, I couldn't find what she was talking about or anything like that. Or, what is your thought processing on how to kind of follow up to make, to implement some of this stuff for the folks like myself that really need to implement it. But, obviously I don't have the questions until I've done more implementing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk to Susan about what's the best thing with that. You can always reach. I am going to record this, and I'll have it posted so that if you need to go back to it, it'll be in Team Palace. Feel free to reach out, to me or to your business coach or whatever. You've got a quick question around that. You mentioned this form. I can't find it. We're happy to help, Terry.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, by the way. It's awesome.
Well, I hope so. Somebody did put a chat question in about how do you close a phone call with somebody? And so this is kind of unrelated to organization, but would that be helpful if we talked about that a little bit? So I think everybody's style is a little bit different, and maybe some other coaches would want to chip in with, contribute some ideas around that. But let's say you've got a call, we've done the questioning, big piece of this is finding out, what they're looking for, right? We want to know what their struggles are. And then, I always try to ask questions in a way that I can, when I talk about the program, I'm going to be able to highlight and talk about what's going to help them most that we offer to show what we do is different. So if somebody's telling me that they've tried to lose weight before, but they just have trouble sticking with it, because they're so busy. Well, I'm going to talk about the convenience of the meal plans. If they tell me that, I can lose weight, but I always gain it back. Well, then I'm going to talk about the other tools, and support that we have that make us different. I'll share about all of it, but I'm going to tailor it to that. So once you get to the point that, you've kind of shared everything about the program, I ask a lot of questions along the way. Like I do a lot of kind of check-ins, like, does that make sense to you? Do you see how this could help you when you talked about, struggling with convenience? And so I think, I think we need to be direct at the end. I mean, I will say, what kind of question? I always usually say this. I have just given you a lot of information. I know you have questions. What kind of questions do you have? And then I just hesitate. I just don't talk and wait. And they'll say something up, say something. And then I usually will ask at that point, okay, well, based on what we've said, what's your motivation to get started? Where are you with this? Like, are you ready to kind of take that next step in your life? And on a scale of 1 to 10, I love that question. And that'll give me a feel for where they are. And if they're like an 8, 9, or 10, I'll say, well, great. Does that mean you want to get started? And usually that'll be my yes or no, whether to go into it. If they're a 6, 7, I'll go, okay, well, great. What's your hesitation? And I'll find out what's going on around that. Maybe it's around the money or whatever. They're not sure they can stick to it. But I pretty much put it out there like, hey, does this sound good? Are you ready to get going? Or, and so leave it like that. If they ask me to send more info, if they're not ready yet, I'll send more info to them. Like Molly said in one of the other calls, I never send anybody to my website till I've talked to them, but I will send them more info. And then I'll say, when's a good time for me to follow up with you? And honestly, most of them will say within 24 to 48 hours. So I get that permission from them to go ahead and follow up. Molly, how about you?
One of the questions that works really well for me after, we've had the discussion, I find out, tell me what's going on with you. Tell me your story. Everybody loves to tell their story. So they share it with me and I say, and round it out with your health story. Like, weave it in there. Tell me what's going on with you. So you might get more information than you need, but there are always nuggets in that story for you to follow through on. And after they've told me their story, I will say to them, okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what I do and how I might be able to help you round out your story. And So I kind of address it from that standpoint, give them information. But then before I close a call, if we haven't finalized the next step, I say to them, tell me what you're thinking. And just shut up. Because people will tell you what they're thinking.
I love that.
Tell me what you're thinking. You know, what is this resonating with you? Do you see yourself doing this? Do you not see yourself doing this? What part of this can we chat about? And I just
Great.
let them take it from there. Did you get my texty?
Oh, no, that would be my phone buzzing over here. Okay.
Just wanted you to know.
I'll check that out now.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Julie, you have a good way. Usually you finish up a call. Can you unmute? Yeah.
Yeah. Which part are you getting at?
So somebody asked the question, how do you end a call with somebody?
Oh, right. Sorry, I was writing down what everybody else was saying. So many good things. Usually at the end of the call, I listened to the training from 2 Saturdays ago or whatever day, and the way they ended it, they said always invite somebody to start. And I thought that was so good. And it's just really closing the call. You have to have something to say to them. And if they're not ready to move forward, you've got to provide ready. Are you ready to go? Let's go ahead and get started. Did I cut out?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So yeah, I usually make sure I ask the question, are you ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
And find out what's their hesitation if they're not, because they need those questions answered.
Right.
Was that what you were getting at?
Yeah, you're fading out in and out a little bit. And I think that like Molly said, like, what are you thinking right now? We can usually find out what their fear is or what's holding them back, you know, and sometimes we can work around that, you know, like I said, not talking them into anything, but again, kind of just explaining more and then showing them how we'll help them. I think that can be very effective. And some people just aren't ready yet, you know. So, I mean, I think they say statistically, especially if you're just doing those collecting yeses calls, just sharing with, you know, hey, I'm a health coach now and I'm helping people. You know, somebody says, well, share a little bit about that with me. You know, I think it's like 1 out of 5 that are ready. Now, of course, that's going to improve as you start to get your business grows and you get more referrals. Well, then more and more are going to say yes because they've almost called you looking to go ahead and sign up. But when you're doing that, you know, don't be hard on yourself. I think it's a natural part of the process, and the key really becomes follow-up. Stay in touch with those people. Ask them if you can put them on your Healthy Habits newsletter, like the one that's provided from the company, and then just stay in touch with them. Let them know you care. You know, even people that say they go to Weight Watchers, you know what, I think I just want to eat whole foods. I think I'm going to go to Weight Watchers, or the infamous, I'm going to eat healthy. You know, I'll follow up with them and just say, hey, you know, it's Dee. I just wanted to circle back. I know you were going back to Weight Watchers. You know, how are you doing? Have you met your goals? I mean, and people just want to know if you care. You know, it's not a bad thing that you've called and asked that question. Well, good. We'll keep sharing, you guys. Like, we want these weekly calls to be valuable for you. And like Terry said, you have specific questions. If you want to have a follow-up around this, more of a roundtable discussion, you know, I'll put that out there with Susan. But, you know, we're here to help. So we all learn. I mean, I just learned from Molly. I loved and Julie questions that they said. So together we learn and accomplish a lot more. All right. Thanks for you guys for joining. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Dee.
Bye.